When it comes to television, one question has always bugged me. Is there a way that How I Met Your Mother could have ended in a satisfying way? This was one of the most iconic sitcoms of the 21st century. Almost everyone I know has either watched or have heard about it. It's a lot of people's comfort show, but everyone universally agrees that it sits up there with Game of Thrones as one of the worst TV show endings of all time. But the question is, why? And could this have been avoided? As someone who loves to rewrite things, like the aforementioned Game of Thrones, why couldn't I have done the same with this lovable sitcom? In this video, I want to break down the ending of How I Met Your Mother and see if there was any way this could have possibly worked. Today I want to explore why How I Met Your Mother was doomed to fail. To defend How I Met Your Mother a bit before we begin, sitcoms in general are some of the most difficult shows to end in a satisfying way. So sitcoms, or situational comedy shows, yes, I had to look that up before this video, always tend to be fairly long-running series with no real planned endings. They have fairly loose episodes, with their whole appeal being that you can watch any episode and have a good time. Due to that, when they start to come to an end, writers have to scrounge for some satisfying ending because there isn't really a story. And in most cases, writers will try and do a good enough job. I mean, looking at shows like Friends, Parks and Recreation, or That 70s Show, it's definitely possible. Even The Office, which started to dwindle in quality, managed to pull off something genuine in the end. I mean, the return of Michael, cinema. How I Met Your Mother, however, not so much. I loved this show in my early high school and college years, being one of my most rewatched shows due to the comedy hitting close to home. Yes, I'm from New York. The characters were all endearing, and the concept was low-key kinda cool. Each season added more clues to who this mysterious mother was and layers to many characters. But then, the ending happened, and this is what we're going to discuss. I'm assuming anyone who clicked on this video knows the premise of the show, so I'm just going to skip that. Anyways, the whole story ends with Ted Mosby deciding to leave his life and friends behind, only to end up meeting this so-called mother. Okay, interesting enough, but if the show ended just like this, people still wouldn't be satisfied, because it deprives us of the many questions people were already asking since the beginning. Where is the mother now? How did their relationship go? Does Ted ever rekindle things with the friends that he's mentioned billions of times in the story? So the writers realized we gotta do some more and explain all that. We have to fill in the blanks, if you will. So that led to the last 2 episodes of the show, and that's when the show derailed. Let's count it down why. The show immediately passes through years of time in a matter of moments. A show that was supposed to be a slow deconstruction of character turns into a lightning round of greatest hits. Barney and Robin break up after literal seasons of build-up for their romance. I mean, the whole last season is their wedding. 20 episodes taking place in 2 days, only for the first 10 minutes of the finale to break them up immediately. What the F? Lily and Marshall have nothing to do. Whatever, I guess. I guess they survived the train wreck. But hey, at least Ted ends up with Tracy, the mom they set up. Oh wait, she's dead. Off screen too? What the hell is going on? And wait, the series ends on Ted going back to Robin? Did Brother learn nothing in 9 seasons? I can keep going, but I just don't want to. This shit sucks. Let's move on. Those of you who have seen other videos in my channel know how much I love to rewrite movies, shows, or franchises. I mean, Game of Thrones had an atrocious ending, and I spent years perfecting a solid rewrite. This made me want to do the same with this monstrosity. I watched this show countless times, seeing if there was something I missed. Only then did I realize the task of making a good ending to this show was near impossible. I realized that the concept of this show, with how it began and the themes and story it wanted to tell, didn't lend itself to a satisfying ending. So to understand that, we have to see what the themes and character arcs are. Let's break down the themes first. We got friendship and love, simple enough. But the main theme is how Ted views life and love. He believes in learning from your failures, essentially the idea of growing up and maturing. Okay, on top of that though, the other theme that Ted constantly believes is the idea of destiny. The idea that everything will work out in the end, that timing is everything, and it's important to have faith. These themes reflect Ted's journey. He starts off as this naive, wishful dummy who falls in love with some random woman across the room, Aunt Robin. Fun fact, for those who don't know, this show is initially supposed to be 1 season long, and the love interest he meets near the end of the season, Victoria, was supposed to be the mother. But the show got renewed because, well, it was good. Let's face it though, Barney was hardcore carrying, and when it did, Ted continued to learn life lessons and meet new girls that were all just worse versions of Victoria. But the main thing the show really emphasized both with Ted's eventual realizations and themes, was that him and Robin were not meant to be, and yet he ends up right back with her, throwing away all the lessons he learns. Let's figure out why, and that's where the problem comes in. If you look at the show as a whole, it mainly circles around the relationship of Ted and Robin. They are both coming together and leaving each other, showing just how toxic their relationship is and bringing home the point that maybe they just aren't meant to be. Thus, Ted's realization of leaving makes sense, that he's over to Robin. Except for the fact that he isn't. The problem lies in the fact that this is a story being told to his future kids, and Ted starting this whole long-winded mess with meeting Robin shows he isn't really over her. Let me explain. The first episode in a show should emphasize the journey the characters will go on, the themes and lessons to learn, and most importantly, what is the most important conflict of the show to keep in mind through its duration. For Breaking Bad, for example, it's Walt's moral ambiguity and Hank's discovery. For Game of Thrones, it's the threat of the White Walkers. In How I Met Your Mother's case, the main conflict is that Ted is in love with Robin. That is the main barrier from meeting this mysterious mother. But that wouldn't make sense to eventually happen because the story is being told from the future rather than in the present. Think about it. If the story is eventually about meeting the mother and how Ted shows that he loves her to his kids, having the story be about a future Ted reminiscing about Robin invalidates that completely. Damn, I just feel like Hulk explaining time travel to the Avengers. Essentially, the writers wrote themselves into a corner the moment they made the first episode and created this concept. If meeting the mother was the point of the story, having the whole story be really about Robin being told from a future Ted doesn't make sense. And then I thought about it. Maybe this could have worked if the mother turned out to have left the family, or just been not great to Ted, or even just straight up evil. Because then him going back to Robin would have been satisfying, or at least make sense. But that wouldn't have worked either, because that would also go against Ted's character and journey. Plus, it would make him look bad for ending up with a bad person, and make the writers look bad to build up a character for the kids who is actually bad. That's not a lesson to really write home about. Ted is supposed to idolize this mother for the kids, and needs to keep the image up. But with her in the picture, telling a story about Robin is disrespectful, so the writers thought to kill her off. But the problem with doing that to a beloved character is that it is cheap and rushed. You see what I mean? Nothing will work. By starting off with meeting Aunt Robin, you're disrespecting the mom's memory, even dead. If the whole story is supposed to be about Ted ending up with Robin, it shouldn't be about setting the mom up as an idol and constantly recycling Ted and Robin's relationship, showing over and over again why it doesn't work. But if the show is about moving on from Robin, starting the story he tells the kids with meeting her doesn't make sense either, because it shows he isn't moved on from her. The whole thing is a paradox and will just never work. What's ironic is that the themes the show is going for are a paradox too. The idea of faith and destiny is contradicted with growing up and moving forward. Think about it. If Ted's idea of destiny means that he will one day end up with Robin, that's the opposite of having to move on. The entire basis of the show shouldn't work since the themes contradict and the idea will always contradict the ending. The idea of him telling the kids how I met their mother should start with him meeting the mother, not being an excuse to be in love with another woman. But hey, then that's boring and we gotta subvert expectations. Maybe if the show wasn't about him telling the story to his kids and just about a group of friends in New York experiencing wacky hijinks, that would have been fine, but then you don't have the premise of How I Met Your Mother. What I'm trying to say is that this show would never have ended in a good way. The themes don't match and the premise doesn't match the characters' journeys. People would be mad because no matter what way the show went, it wouldn't have made sense based on everything that has been set up. Unlike Game of Thrones, where the writers stopped caring, for How I Met Your Mother, I'm convinced that no matter how hard the writers tried, this shit would never have worked. Because at the end of the day, the premise of How I Met Your Mother is an inverse paradox of good storytelling. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Was there a way for this ending to get salvaged and people to be satisfied? Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you again, and have a good day, everybody.